Hello.
Good
Hello,
morning.
Bob. Good morning. We'll just, while we wait for some viewers to join in, uh,
Okay,
let's just let's just chat a couple of minutes, and then I will introduce you, and we can get started formally.
sure.
Uh, yeah. So again, for any of us, any students who are just logging in, we have Science Bob online, and Bob, let me introduce Space to you. We are a company in India, and we do astronomy education in schools. So it's kind of unusual here because there is no astronomy curriculum.
Okay.
It's only in colleges. Otherwise, you just have science. So we try to introduce that component into schools so it keeps students interested in science.
Awesome. Well done.
Yeah. So, and also we're trying to get students interested in hands-on science because the way the curriculum is here, it's very dry. The books are very dry, so it's hard to get students interested, and they like it if you set up a telescope or show them how to make a telescope and so on.
Sure. Well, and I would think there'd be a push for space education because you have a space program.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have a space program that's pretty, it's doing very well right now, as you know. So yeah, we get the kids interested. Yeah. So, and that way they keep an interest in science.
Sure. And what grade do they start learning science? How old?
So they start when they start science in primary school, but uh, but it's only as they get older that it gets a little more uh, technical and theoretical. So that's that's when it gets more challenging to keep them interested. Yeah.
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
And
So
what
we have
city? What
yeah,
city are you based out of?
we are in Delhi, which is the capital of India. But we also have a couple of franchises, and they're in Punjab and in the south of India too, in Chennai. So we are gradually spreading out to more cities.
And how did you get interested in this?
Uh, so we're all either amateur astronomers, or in my case, I also have a degree in astronomy, but we're just a group of people who do science outreach. So we just talk to people about science. We talk to media. We set up telescopes. In India, people are a little scared of uh, eclipses and superstitions. So we try to show them it's really science and not just superstition. So uh,
Sure.
yeah, so we try to do that. So we
And
have
how?
some viewers online. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, go on, Bob. It's just informal. Okay.
I was going to say, where did you watch the lunar eclipse?
So as it turns out, the lunar eclipse wasn't great here. It
Oh,
was during daylight hours, but we still viewed it as a supermoon event. So we did set up telescopes in a lot of places to watch the super big moon, but we couldn't watch the lunar eclipse. But you all had a good view of it, right?
we had a very
There.
good view of it, and now we sort of have a supermoon going on now too. It's the second one that's close by.
Yeah, so there are several this year. So so I'll go ahead and start.
Okay.
Well, welcome all to all our viewers. I welcome you to this special session, a hangout with Science Bob. So yay! In fact, we are all so excited to have Science Bob with us. Science Bob Flugfelder is a science teacher, author, and presenter, and uh, he gets kids excited in science. And I've seen your videos, and I understand you're a regular guest on Kimmel Live. And
Yes. Do you get Jimmy Kimmel live there?
We do, we do,
On the
we
internet?
do now. We no, we do it on. We do get it on cable TV. Only thing is, it's a few months behind, but we do get
Okay.
it. So that's pretty exciting. We do get him, and you've also been on other TV shows, live with Kelly and Michael, and the Dr. Oz show, and of course our kids would be interested because you've been on Nickelodeon
Yeah.
show, and so he's a popular author, and he's been featured in People, Popular Science, Disney's Family Fun, and Wired magazine. And you do presentations at events and science festivals. So we are excited to have Science Bob here with us. And uh, for anybody who would like to ask questions, please please do so, and I would bring the questions to Science Bob as we go along.
And
So
I'll point out, because it's worth pointing out, is this morning, because it's morning here, so it's about 7 o'clock in the morning here, and I woke up about 6 and came out, and off to my right when I stepped outside was this beautiful full supermoon, and then off to my left we had Mars and Venus and Saturn, all Saturn or Jupiter? All lined up, and it's very rare that you can have your binoculars up and see 3 planets without having to move anywhere. So, and I would imagine you would get the same event.
Neeraj, do you want to talk to that since you're an uh, avid observer?
Yeah, I would like to mention that. Yes, that's true. Now in the morning time, we have 3 planets in line. We can view Venus, Jupiter, and below we have Mars all together placed. So it's a very good sight in the morning, and it's very beautiful. Today morning, it was strange. I just mentioned it to my roommate last night that tomorrow morning we're going to see this, and I was sleeping, and he got up in the morning, and he called me. Needed to see that I could see it. So there's Mars, Jupiter, and Venus lined up. So that was great to see that someone's so excited, and it was great to see that. So nice view. Yes.
All
Uh,
right, we got questions.
yeah, so let me start off, Bob. We have a couple of questions, but let me start off on how do you get kids interested in science? How do you use your experiments to get them interested? And what is your goal for doing this kind of thing?
Yeah, I found that it doesn't take a lot to get kids interested in science. Kids are born natural explorers. So if you take a 6-year-old on a walk through the woods, they're going to be spotting animals, they're going to be turning over logs, they're going to be dragging out pots and pans and hitting them with spoons. So that's I think it's there. And that your viewers who are watching, probably have used Legos and have built things out of sticks and twigs if they get out in the woods. So I think it's there, and then at some point we sort of lose that. We lose the wanting to innovate, wanting to build, and the Legos get put under the bed. And so I'm trying to keep that alive and realize that the world of science, the more you learn about it, the more you just want to keep learning about it, because it's more amazing than stuff you see out in the movies.
That's right. And in fact, a lot of us here are interested in science outreach. We go out and show people telescopes and what you can see in the sky. So can you just give us a few lines about what got you into science communication in this big way?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I was interested in science, but I never thought of it as something to do. And then when I went to college, we would have to do these lessons for the students, and I would see the reaction that a science demonstration would make, and I realized that after a demonstration, I had the students' attention. And that is at the point where you can then go to introduce your concepts and say, okay, well, what happens if we want to make that reaction bigger? How could we do that? And the discussion starts. So as there's not every class we do something. We don't sit and read, or they don't hear my lecture the whole class. We get out and we explore. We do something hands-on, because that's as you know, that's where the real learning takes place.
So I'm just going to try and show one of your videos,
Okay.
and just to show kids what you have online, so they can log in and watch more of it. So viewers, please hold on while I share a screen and see if I can get this working.
I like to blow stuff up, as you can see.
Yeah, so can you all see the video I'm showing you?
Oh, it's a good one. Now, I know I can't hear it, but I can narrate if it helps.
Can you hear it, Neeraj?
No, I can't hear it.
All right, I'll narrate. So here, what we got in those 3 balloons, that was hydrogen in there. And hydrogen is very, very, very flammable. So now we are, there's holes in the tops of these cans. So we're lighting these sort of like candles. And as we do that, oxygen is coming in through another hole on the bottom. And that is what happens when you get oxygen and hydrogen in the right mix. Those things take off.
Wow.
And hit it. So what's cool about this is that this is how actual rockets go off. If you watch footage of the old American space shuttles launching, you'll see these big plumes of white smoke. And a lot of people say, "Oh, that's terrible, all that pollution." But that's just water vapor from hydrogen and oxygen mixing. And then there's solid rocket fuels, which are more polluting. But those big plumes of white are mostly just water vapor. So in general, it's sort of a green technology of sorts.
And I saw another fun one about 2,000 ping pong balls that you
Yeah.
bounced in zero gravity. You just want to
There's
tell
one
us
of
a
our
couple of lines?
Yeah.
Right.
So if anyone ever comes up to any of you guys and says, "Would you like to fly in a plane that will let you experience zero gravity?" the answer is yes. So I got a call from a company called Northrop Grumman, and they said, we are doing these flights where you do what's called a parabola. So you get in a plane, and there's only imagine that the plane is only got about 30 seats in it, and the rest is just padded plane. And they sit you down, and they take you way up, and then they do this parabola. So you go up like this very sharply, and then they turn, and then they point it towards Earth and go down. And for about 30 seconds, you are completely weightless. So you're floating around just like the astronauts. You're not completely weightless. We could go into the physics of it. But you're in free fall, what's called free fall. And so they called me up and they said, "You do interesting experiments. If we put you on one of these planes, what would you want to do?" And they said, think about it and call us back. And I said, "Oh, I don't need to think about it. I want to release 2,000 ping pong balls in zero gravity." Here's one of our ping pong balls. And we did it. And what was really interesting about this experiment is before we sat down with about 5 or 6 people that had been on many of these flights. And I said to them, "What's going to happen when we open up all of these bags of ping pong balls?" And one of them said, "Well, I don't think anything's going to happen. I think you're going to open them and they're just going to sit there floating." Another one said, "Oh, they're going to spread out." Another person said they're going to clump together because of static electricity. So it was great that we had all these people that had been on these flights, and they didn't know. We didn't know. It was new ground. Strangely, no one had ever tried this experiment before. So, and it turns out it was wonderful. They all spread out. You could see the level of gravity as the balls would rise and fall. And then at the end, we all just collapse to the ground when the gravity comes back. So if you get a chance, check it out. It was it was a fun day. We did 13 of those parabolas, and we also did some where we were in Mars gravity. And I had so they take you up and they give you gravity on Mars, gravity on the Moon, and so in Mars gravity, I said, has anyone ever tried juggling in Mars gravity? When you get to that Mars gravity, they said no. So all right, I want to juggle. So I got some items and I experienced what it would be like to juggle in Mars gravity, and it turns out it's a lot easier.
And why is that?
Oh, well, so you throw something up on Earth and it comes down at a certain
Right.
given rate. And on Mars, because you have less gravity, it goes up, it takes its time, comes back down, and then at zero gravity, you would throw it and it would just hit the ceiling. But Mars and Moon, I can say I have juggled in Moon gravity.
And you have a better chance of catching the balls.
Anyone can juggle on Moon's gravity, yes. If you
Right.
say, I can't juggle, I say, try it on the Moon. You'll be able to juggle.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and get some of the questions to you so our students feel that they got a chance to communicate with you.
Ask away.
So I'm going to, I see a list of questions up here. I don't know if the two of you see it, so I'm just going to read it out. It's called, okay, it's by Pranur and Sadit Arya of class 7. And they ask, as we know, you host a science program on a cartoon channel and you do a lot of experiments. So we want to become scientists and we want to know which is your favorite experiment and how was it conducted?
All right, my favorite experiment. I have an experiment in which we take about 20 liters of liquid nitrogen, and liquid nitrogen is very, very cold, minus 198 degrees Celsius, and you pour it into a big bucket. So it's very, very cold. And then you get somewhere around 6 or 7 liters of boiling water, so 100 degrees Celsius. So you have something very cold and very hot. And when you mix these together, two things will happen. Number one, the water becomes vaporized, becomes very, very small particles. And then number two, that hot water will get cold and it will condense. And what you end up with is somewhere between a 20 and 30 foot tall cloud formation. And you can do this indoors, and it makes this very wonderful, spectacular cloud. And when you're in it, because it happens right at your feet, when you're in it, it's literally like being in a cloud. It's very cool, and you can't see anything. And so that is, and it shows how actual clouds form with this sort of heating and condensing in a kind of an extreme way. But it is a real cloud inside. So there's a couple of videos. If you search for Science Bob liquid nitrogen cloud, yeah, you will be. That's my favorite demo.
Yeah, I did find that video on your website, and that was really fun, cloud formation. And so here's another question. It's by Vibhor. It says, do aliens survive? I don't know if you have an answer to that one.
Do aliens survive? All right, well, here's an interesting thing about aliens surviving. So here in the United States, we have an area called Area 51, which is where it is supposed that aliens have crashed in Area 51. So here's my thing about that, and people are debating whether this is real or not. If you are an alien, you must have come billions of miles through the galaxy with incredible technology. So I am a little suspicious that you would travel with all this technology, billions of miles, and then crash on Earth. I don't think they would crash. I don't think we'd have to worry about that technology crashing. So, so if you're wondering, do they exist? So here's what you have to figure. We have 100 billion stars in our galaxy. We have 100 billion galaxies. Many of those have planets that are much like Earth and are ripe for the formation of life. So we'd have to be very egotistical to assume that none of those other planets have some form of life. And so if you get a chance, there's something called the Drake equation, where they figure out, given how many planets there are out there, Drake equation mostly works with our galaxy, but how often life might exist. So I don't think we're alone. Whether we'll get to visit anyone and what it means to be life, we may have life on Mars, but in most chances, you're just talking about bacteria there. So hopefully some of you guys will be calling me and saying, we have found life on another world.
Here's another question.
Okay.
What are the steps to becoming a successful scientist by a student from Bal Bharati School?
Okay, what are the steps to becoming a successful scientist?
Right.
All right, so I am assuming that there is something in science that has caught your attention, whether it is space travel or biology or geology. And if that has caught your attention, first find out as much as you can. Read a lot on the subject. Use the internet to find out what you can on the subject. And then find someone that shares your interest. A lot of scientists are surprisingly open to receiving emails from students. And so if you're into space exploration, many astronauts have Twitter accounts, and you can tweet out to them, and they will tweet back to you. Or they have places where you can write in to ask them questions. So, yeah, so learn, open the books up, get as much information as you can, and then get in touch with the scientists that are doing what you want to do. You'll be surprised at how much they are interested in helping people study what they're interested in.
That's a good answer. And here's another question. Is time travel possible?
Is time travel possible? Okay, it's a great question. The answer is yes. So time travel is possible. The challenge is we need a vehicle that is much faster than any vehicle that we currently have. So time and space are very strange. And if you could hop into a spaceship and take off, and let's say you're going 80% the speed of light. So 80%, you're flying out there, and you go for 5 years out there, and you turn around, and you come on back at the same speed, you are going to arrive, you're going to be about 10, you'll be 10 years older, 5 years there, 5 years out. But time will have slowed down, and all of your friends would be 20 years older. And so essentially you have gone into the future. However, you can't then, if you're like, oh, I'm in the future, I want to go back to where I was before, that's not an option. So if we can get a vehicle fast enough, we can travel through time.
And that's kind of, you kind of answered, there's a related question, so I'll just pull that out.
Okay.
It's by Sonia Razdan. There are many galaxies present out in space, which may have life present in them, and it might take us millions of light years to reach them. In this case, will the topic of time travel come into existence?
You mean to get to them?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If you're talking about getting to another galaxy, even traveling at the speed of light, it would take you more than a lifetime. So getting to another galaxy would be a whole different, yeah, then you're having to talk about trying to find a way through a wormhole or somehow bend space. But I'm happy just exploring our solar system. We got a lot to do in
Right.
our solar system, so it'd be great to get to another galaxy, but there's a lot we don't know about Saturn.
So now that we've answered some of the questions, do you have any demo you would like to show us, or should I just go ahead
Well,
and
I do.
talk?
So I have a quick little demo.
Okay.
Something you can try at home. It's not space related. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
that's fine. Yeah, we're excited about any science.
Sure. So space, by the way, one of the challenges with teaching about space is it's hard to be hands-on with space. If you're teaching
Right.
geology, you can go outside and you can find some rocks and bring them back. But my school will not sponsor a field trip into space. So I'll show you a fun little experiment you can do. It's on my website. Some of you may have seen it. So I have here a bottle, and in the bottle I've poured a little bit of water. That's just regular water. And then the rest of this is cooking oil. So you got water and cooking oil. All right? And this is learning about density. And it does apply to space. So for example, if you go to Jupiter, it has a very, very dense environment. And in fact, you would probably, if you jumped off your ship, you would go and you'd get to a point where you would just stop and you would float because it's very dense there. And on Mars, very little atmosphere. And so if you get caught in a Mars sandstorm, you don't really have to worry about it because it doesn't really pick up much. There's not much atmosphere there. All right, so now I'm going to take this and I am going to put in it some just regular food coloring. There we go. You can see how it doesn't mix. It doesn't quite mix until it gets to the bottom. I'll give it a little shake there. That's right. Next step will be good. And then this is a little Alka-Seltzer tablet. Do you have antacid tablets there?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
we
fizzing
do.
tablets? Yeah, so they fizz.
Yeah.
So I'm going to drop this in, and when that hits it, it's going to start to bubble as soon as it gets wet. There we go. I'm going to put another piece in there. And just have to get our... There we go. And now, with a little bit of time, you have created your very own lava lamp.
That's
There we
great.
go. So, and then if you
Yeah.
want, you can put a flashlight under it. See, isn't that cool?
Wow.
Wow.
And you
Yeah,
get
cool.
that.
Yeah,
nice
that's very
look.
nice.
Now it's spilling all over my desk, but that's okay. So there you go, a homemade lava lamp.
That's
And I've got
wonderful.
all the instructions on the website. Ooh,
Okay, that's a
pretty.
good one to try. That is pretty.
All
That
right.
food coloring makes it look very nice.
Yes, it makes it look like an old Mars volcano.
Yeah, so it's make your own volcano as well. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll just take, we're heading to the end, so I'll just take one more question.
Okay.
Again by Sonia Razdan. Space exploration has many benefits. However, it's been known to dirty space with used parts of rockets and space objects, thus causing accidents. How do you suggest we reduce this amount of waste from causing harm? Like
All
space
right.
debris.
So, if you look at these pictures that they have online of all of the satellites and things, the satellites are always very big. They draw these large satellites. Space is huge, and the chances of two objects, even in Earth's orbit, hitting each other is very, very small. It did happen once. There were two satellites, one that was going one way around the Earth and one that was going the other way around the Earth, that hit each other. But it's very rare just because space is so huge. the space station, the International Space Station, um, they have to make sure that there is, I think it's a less than a 1 in 10,000th chance that they can be near something. In other words, if there's anything less than a 1 in 10,000th chance that they're going to hit an object, they will go further away. And they have had, the International Space Station has had to move because there was a chance that they might hit something that was floating away. So it doesn't happen very often. There is a lot of space junk out there, and it would be great to find a solution for that. And maybe that is something that that your students can come up with a way. What do we do with all that space junk? We left a lot of stuff on the moon, too. There's a lot of junk on the moon.
Right. So, do you have any questions, Neeraj, for Science Bob?
Yeah, sure, sure. I'd like to ask you, can you comment something on the experiments done on ISS, the International Space Station? What kind of experiment do we do there?
On the internet, what kind of experiments do we do?
Yeah, like we have seen that plants have been grown in space, and the astronauts having food in space, vegetables in space. So, and recently we seen the movie Martian, and Mark Watney was growing potatoes over there. So that was
Yes.
cool. So can you comment
Yeah.
something on that?
Well, and one of the big things that they're doing on the International Space Station right now, one of the astronauts up there is Mark Scott. Michael
Scott Kelly.
Scott Kelly,
Yes,
thank you.
Scott Kelly. Right.
So, and Scott Kelly is up there. He's going to be up there for a year, the longest human has been on the
Yes.
International Space Station. And so they are studying his biology to see how does this long-term time on the International Space Station at zero gravity affect his body. And luckily he has a twin back on Earth that they can directly compare it to. And so once we have that information, that's going to give us some clues as to how we can get to Mars. Because we can look at, all right, how does that affect his body? How is that, if we are spending many months getting to Mars, how is that going to play out? So that, and then they do lots of really interesting things. I know they brought a spider in a little container up on the International Space Station and said, if a spider has zero gravity, what would their web look like? And it turns out it's a mess. So I think there's a lot of benefits, and as far as Mark Watney goes, there's a lot of great science in that they got right. And we are going to have to grow food in an environment that that's not designed for growing food. So there's still a lot to solve, but we've got wonderful middle schoolers around the world that are going to help solve those problems.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you so much.
Okay.
And Bob, do you want us to give us all our students any last advice on how to do their activities? And I know you have some books also. I saw that, I would recommend those books to the kids, but anything else you would suggest on getting excited about science?
Well, yeah, again, stay curious, and also you have got a blooming science program there that you should try to get as much information about as you can. You've got a space observatory that's doing great work. You are orbiting Mars, so find out a passion that you have in science, whether it's space or something else. Read a lot about it, share your passion, and then find out how you can make a difference. What problems need to be solved in your area that you like in science. If we're going to get to Mars, there's a lot of challenges that we need to solve, and I think it can be done. But it's going to take you guys. You guys are the generation that will solve those problems.
So, thank you so much.
Thank you
Science Bob.
for hanging out this afternoon.
Yeah, and we are going to share your video with a lot of students when it's school timings. So it's really great to have you online, and I'll direct the students to your Facebook so that they can communicate with you further on that if they would like to.
I do the Twitter, I do the Instagram. Join in.
Okay, great. It's great having scientists who are active on social media, so all the young generation can join in and communicate with them. So again, thank you, and we are doing this for World Space Week that was in early October, and we just want to bring the excitement of astronomy to everybody around. So we are very happy to have you here, and it was very exciting to see your lava lamp and hear your discussion. So thank you,
And
Bob.
if you get this, if you're watching this shortly after it aired, you can go out and see our 3 planets in the morning tomorrow morning.
That's right. So we have Science Bob reminding us that we have a conjunction going on tonight. So we'll enjoy astronomy, and let's go ahead and get into science the way Science Bob suggests. So thank you again.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.